Authenticity. It's become a little bit of a buzzword. Do we really know what it means? Well, in today's episode, I'm unpacking authenticity because I still believe there is value in leading your life from an authentic place. So from this perspective, let's dive in. Hello, welcome to today's episode. Authenticity. That's what I want to talk about. We've been discussing core values, integrity. We discussed leading from a place of purpose. Do you know your purpose? Do you know what your dharma is, what you're on this earth to do? So the next natural topic of conversation, for me anyways, was authenticity. Now, unfortunately, it's become a bit of a buzzword in this industry, but what does authenticity truly mean? Well, the definition, I pulled up a few for you. Authenticity is acting in accordance with one's true self. Authenticity refers to accurately expressing one's core values and inner qualities. There's core values again. So basically, are you showing up as your true self? I think that's how I would describe it. Are you true to your own personality? Are you showing up as the version of yourself that is without a mask, without a role, without thinking of what others want you to be? I think that's where we can get lost. If you're not showing up as your true self, then you're showing up as the person that everybody else wants you to be. And sometimes this could take on different forms. Often we find ourselves being put into boxes when it comes to self-expression. So maybe if you're at work, you're going to behave one way. If you're with your family, with your friends, you're going to take on a different persona, and maybe you're hiding a little part of you. So I want you to ask yourself this question: why are you hiding? If you find yourself having to adapt to the environment, what is it about that environment that does not allow you to show up safely as yourself? Is it because you feel they're going to judge you? Are you worried about their opinions? Are you feeling that you're not going to be accepted for who you are because you're different? So let's start to look at how can we change that mindset? Because you know what? Showing up different is how you contribute to the world. Because how boring would it be if we all had the same opinions and the same points of views, right? And part of this podcast is being open to receive different perspectives and different points of views. So I'm someone who thinks differently, especially in my family. Do I always feel safe to share what I feel with my family? Not necessarily, but it's more from a perspective of, I know that they won't understand if I start to get into this debate. So I just choose not to participate. That's different than saying, I will change my opinion on a topic because I'm in certain circumstances or environments. That's where I want us to concentrate today, because that means I'm not being authentic to who I am and how I feel. And again, it's asking the question, why? That's the most powerful question you can ask yourself. Why? Why do I not feel safe? Or do I feel like I can accurately express myself? Maybe I won't be accepted. Maybe I'll be judged. Maybe I'll be questioned. And if you're not ready to truly stand up for who you are and your opinions, then maybe you don't want to have this conversation, which is how I feel sometimes. Sometimes I'll just step back because I'm like, you know what? It's not even worth having the conversation. Choose your battles. But the power lies in your authenticity. What I've learned is that thinking in that way of, I just won't share my opinion because they won't understand, is a limiting belief, because you are anticipating their reaction. We know that our expectations are based on past experiences. So maybe in the past, when I shared something, I wasn't truly acknowledged, I wasn't seen, I wasn't heard. So now in my mind, every time I share an opinion, I will not be heard, right? Like that's the association that's made. And that's where we can start to break the pattern and break the cycle, because we have to tell ourselves that just because it happened once does not mean that it's going to happen every single time. You then have the choice, the power to decide how you want to show up. And that's where your superpower is, my friends. The way you decide to show up in your most authentic expression of self, exactly who you are, standing up for what you believe in, is the strongest asset you have. Why? Because it makes you connect to that part of yourself that is so unique and special. And it says that I'm not afraid to show up as that person. Even if society, friends, family expects something else of me, I am so confident in who I am, in what I bring to the table, that I'm going to show up with no doubt. That's where your power is, because when you show up that way, nothing can shake you. Showing up in your superpower of authenticity sends the message that you trust yourself, you trust your opinions, you want to be the best version of yourself. And this takes practice. Maybe you're going to show up slowly, a little bit at a time. But trust me when I say that this is where you can truly shine. You're not hiding behind anyone. You're not in your head about what other people are going to think based on what you have to say or how you show up. You're just showing up in your best self, in the best energy you can have. And that energy is contagious. So when you show up with the certitude and the gratitude that I am here for my own purpose and reason, it will be felt by others and they will gravitate towards you. Versus showing up in an energy that you don't accept yourself for who you are. So you're constantly playing a different role in your life, depending on who you're with. You're constantly putting on a mask of, I need to say this, do this because so-and-so is there, because that's what they think, because they don't believe me, because this, because that. The frequency of your energy will vibrate so low that that's what you're going to attract. You're going to attract people who are not authentic as well. So you're going to live in this world where you lack authenticity and those around you will be less authentic. And then how could you truly have a connection with anybody? And most importantly, with yourself. So to be connected to oneself, to be truly aligned with your core values, to be aligned with your purpose means you show up in your authentic self, in your authenticity, in your honest, truest version of you, and you're open to be received. And what else? If you're not received well, you know the difference, that it's not on you because you showed up in your authentic expression. And if somebody doesn't accept you, well, that's on them. That's not on you because you showed up in the way that you needed to. And if somebody can't accept that, let me tell you this though, often that's because you're showing a mirror to them. And if they can't accept your authenticity, there's part of them that wishes they were as authentic as you. And so maybe they're going to be cold. That negativity will mask their true need and desire to show up in that authentic version like you. So you're showing them what's possible. And since they're not ready to receive that yet, they're going to feel threatened. And that's why maybe they're going to retaliate in the way that they do. They're not going to accept you and whatnot. So the biggest gift that we can give as one human being on this earth is to show up authentically and show others what is possible. Because if we show up authentically, the world would be a completely different place. There would be acceptance, there would be honesty, there would be trust. So how could we start with just ourselves? And that's why I feel authenticity is so important in this context, because it starts with you and it starts with living your life as you want. Stop living for other people. Stop living for expectations or for an attachment to an outcome of a 10-year plan you set when your life was completely different, when you were completely different. How could you show up right here, right now, in a way that makes you proud of who you are, that makes you enjoy your life, that makes you want to live in alignment with that purpose? If you don't yet know your purpose, I want you to go back and listen to that episode, Chatting with Katie, because we talked all about the importance of that dharma, that purpose, to really help you align and set you in your life vision. Because when you're living from that purpose, there's such a beautiful serenity, a calmness, a peacefulness that comes from within that again radiates outward and attracts more of that into your world. When you're not living in alignment and when you're fighting that authenticity, there's resistance. Things don't quite feel right. The opportunities aren't coming. How do you always get yourself into these situations? Now, how does one show up authentically? How can you start to make subtle shifts right now to lead from that place that is true to you and that will help you just to get on that path of alignment with your soul's purpose? Well, number one is to figure out your core values. By knowing your core values, you know then what is important to you and what is priority. Making decisions from your core values honors your true needs. If you haven't yet discovered your core values, I will drop the link to my free guide where you can discover your top 5 core values to help you live more authentically. That'll be in the show notes. Once you have your core values, start to see where you are maybe lacking alignment in some places. And what kind of decisions can you make to move towards that? For example, if your core value is freedom, like me, how do you plan your schedule of the day? Do you leave yourself time to be able to decide what you want to do in the moment? The freedom to be able to choose how you want to spend your time? Or do you overpack your schedule and then at the end of the day feel so drained and resentful that you didn't have any time for you? Well, that's an indication of something that you could start shifting, an actionable way to move forward by leading from freedom. Another important thing is know when to set boundaries. When do you need to say no to something? When do you need to hold space for yourself above all? Once you have your core values, do you know your purpose? Do you know what you are meant to do on this earth? I would invite you to take a little time to journal about it. What are the things that light you up? When do you feel the most happy? When do you feel like you are serving the most? Meaning serving others, giving back. The Japanese have a method, an approach called ikigai. And that's really the combination of your passions, your skills, what you can get paid for, and what the world needs. I would invite you to do this little exercise, and you can Google ikigai because it's everywhere. But I had done this for myself, and I really found that there was always an area where there was commonality of where I was the happiest. So you're going to list everything that makes you happy, all the things that you love. And it could be everything from cats to food, walking, dancing, anything at all. Then you're going to list all of the things that you're good at through all of your jobs. Where were your strengths? What was the thing that you brought to the table? Why were you hired? Why were you an expert in these areas? And it could even be things like, I'm really good at cooking. I'm really good at listening. I'm really good at taking time for myself. All of those things that you're good at. The third thing is that you're going to list all the things that you can do in terms of jobs that make money. Anything at all. Dream big. It could be food critic, travel blogger. What are the things that you can actually get paid for? And the last thing, what does the world need? Because when we're in vocation, when we feel like we're giving back, that's where we could really feel like we are doing what we're meant to be doing. So the combination of all these things are going to help you to kind of narrow down your area that you want to explore in. If this all sounds like, oh, Sab, I don't have time to do all that, no problem. I want you to just list the things that make you happy, that light you up, the things that you feel like, yes, this is what life should be. This is what I love doing in life. That's just a small little step into getting closer to your purpose, but at least having an idea. So now we have core values, we have our purpose. I want you to start matching your actions and your day-to-day with those core values and purpose. Do you get to live from a place where you're aligned with what you say is important to you? And if not, where can we start making changes? Of course, this is what I help my clients with. I help dancers, I help artists, I help creative entrepreneurs. Everybody needs assistance and guidance to help themselves get to that next level. Why? Because we can only take ourselves so far because of our experience and our wealth of knowledge. At one point, you're going to need to seek external advice, guidance, opinions. It could be in the form of consultants, of business experts, of other people who've done what you've done so that they can give you some insights as to things that you haven't even thought of because you don't know because you've never done it. So it's totally normal. But how can you set yourself up for success by making a team, giving yourself the opportunity to learn and be guided by people who are experts in their field, who've done it before, and who are willing to take you on this journey as well. And that's what I do for my clients. I help you get out of that place of feeling stuck, to align with your core values, align with your purpose, and to take those action steps. What do I need to do in my day-to-day to live from a place of authenticity? And let me tell you, when I started living from my authentic place, that's where I found this peaceful calmness in my life. Yes, there are challenges that come up, but the way I deal with them are so much better because the challenges that are coming up, at least they're on my path, on the way to where I want to go. So there's an understanding that yes, things will come up, but I'm in a better mindset to be able to learn from them because I know that learning from them will lead me closer to where I want to go. But if I'm facing challenges from a place where I'm not aligned, if I'm working somewhere and I don't believe in the company culture, I don't want to be there anymore, it's not aligned with who I am anymore, and I come up on a challenge, Well, instead of being open and saying, let me see where this takes me and how I could learn, I'm going to be like, well, I already gave so much energy. I don't want to deal with this right now. I'm already drained. I'm going to be resistant to that kind of obstacle or challenge. I'm not going to see any value from being able to face it head on and learn from it. I recently had to make a decision where I let go of something that was no longer aligned. And I was trying so hard to make it aligned because it ticked all the boxes of what I thought I wanted. But every time I was going to that job, I had to give myself a pep talk. I was facing resistance. I was feeling my body speaking to me, communicating to me, telling me that this is not aligned with your bigger vision. So I had to make a decision to let it go. I had to leave that job. And let me tell you, as soon as I did, I felt an inner peace. And I still feel that inner peace. And I feel like, first of all, it's not the first time that that happened to me. That happened to me in the past too, with my advertising job. I was fighting so hard to keep it in my life because I thought that's what I wanted. I was not living authentically to who I was because I was no longer that person. I had evolved. So that awareness around how you evolve and what you want to bring with you into this new chapter of your life is going to be so important for you to continue to live from a place of authenticity and then realize what is serving me, what can I bring with me, and what needs to stay in that last chapter in the past because it no longer serves me. That chapter is done. I need to move on. And if I bring all this baggage with me, there's no way that I'm going to be able to step into that next version of myself. So that realization is key. And I had realized that I had come so far in my journey of leaving one career behind to begin a new life that I'm so proud of that I could not be back in this situation where I was unhappy in a job. Like, no, I'd come too far. I couldn't let that happen again. So I had to make that decision for myself, for my well-being. And when the decision is right, your body will thank you. How? You're going to feel it right away. You're going to feel an immediate sense of gratitude and peace and calm. And that's when you know. Now I get to show up every day and I lead from that authentic place. And I ask myself, what is it that I want to contribute to the world? What is it that I want my life to look like? And am I doing what I need to bring myself closer to that dream and closer to that goal? And if not, we got to let it go. And that's being authentic. That's being true to who you are and what you want. We force and resist and try so hard to fit into that box. One of my clients said the most beautiful thing to me this week. We just wrapped up our 12 weeks together. And she said, when she initially reached out to me, she was doing it because she wanted me to help her fit into the box that she created for herself. And through our journey together, she realized that she didn't want to fit in that box. The box was not for her. I was able to help her realize what she wanted and how she could live from that place of authenticity means that she needed to think outside the box. She needed to decide what she wanted in her life and not let the pressures or the influence of others decide for her. That box that was created, that was pressure from other people, and what she thought she should do was fit into that box. But finally, by accepting herself for who she is, by leaning into what it is that she wanted, she realized that if she was going to live an authentic life, she had to break free from that box. She couldn't force herself into a place where she did not fit. And that's what I want for each and every one of you. If you are forcing yourself to fit into a box, I want you to ask yourself, why? Is this box truly what represents what you want your life to be? If it is, amazing, keep going. If it's not, what can you do to start to break free? Maybe you're just going to look through and peer on the outside of the box and see what's out there to get inspired. Maybe you're going to lift the top of the box and you're going to look up and out. Maybe you're going to start climbing out of the box. Whatever you need to do, however bold or subtle those changes need to be for you, I encourage you to start making them so that you could live authentically true to you. And yes, it's a buzzword, but can we see how important it is when you do lean into that authenticity? Of course, there's always the awareness of what does that mean for me? What does my authentic self look like? And then it's taking those action steps and behaving in a way that is aligned with who you really are.